This is Howie Sandberg for California Extreme Wrestling. And if it sounds just a little strange in here, if it sounds a little echoey in here, if it sounds a little off in here, I will inform you that I am doing this podcast from the shitter. That is right. Now, I know I just made things potentially very, very awkward. And for that, I apologize. Nobody wants to envision your host clenching his butt cheeks and dropping the deuce. But I must be honest. Full transparency, that is the only way I know how to be. So, with that said, if you can get that image out of your head, let us proceed with the Shockwave Recap from last night. In a show emanating from Staples Center in Los Angeles, California, it was one hell of a show. Attention would hit by Shinedown over the sound system, and out would walk Hitman Howie Sandberg, greeted to a chorus of boos. Public enemy number one for the boys in the back and the California fans alike for contributing in getting California yanked off TV. More than contributing. He and Petey Pump were the cause. Sandberg gets in the ring and cuts a promo. Sandberg says, "You people are a bunch of idiots. Those who do not learn from history, those who forget their history, are condemned to repeat it." He goes on to tell a story about how Ramon Armstrong is the one who set off a whole series, a whole chain of events, catastrophic chain of events, that ultimately led to Hitman's demise. Super Clash 2020, he would cite. He would say that he would do a favor for Ramon Armstrong by agreeing to be a part of that card in a main event caliber match against Avatar the Collector, a dream match. They billed it as Frankenstein versus his creator. Frankenstein's monster, rather, versus his creator. Well, Sandberg says he agreed to the match, but he did not agree to the hardcore stipulation that it was a classic bait and switch tactic by a shady indie promoter, a shady hack of a promoter. And that Sandberg would become obsessed after he lost this match. He would become obsessed with defeating Avatar. And it would take him to a second match that was a death match that nearly resulted in his death, saved only by blood transfusions. Sandberg remarked that the Grim Reaper, wrestling's greatest heel, played outside interference in this match and nearly took his life early, like so many others in the wrestling industry, that damn Grim Reaper. But every time the Grim Reaper would seemingly count him out, Howie would kick out just before the 3. And it would go on to talk about his very tough, arduous road following that in 2021. Betrayed, dealing with all kinds of demons, all kinds of hurt, mental anguish, physically broken down, scars, mentally and physically. And he blames Ramon Armstrong. He says that was the catalyst in Sandberg spiraling out of control. Sandberg would then go on to say he doesn't give a about any of the boys in the back. He doesn't care that they were out of work. He doesn't care that they couldn't feed their families, that he's not here to make friends or win, quote unquote, win participation awards. He's done being a nice guy. He doesn't give a shit. And he would challenge Dangerous Dave Howard for the Unified World Heavyweight Championship at Fantasy Bash. That is, if DDH could get past Kando Dragon later in the night. Hitman closed the promo by saying DDH likes to kick people in the nuts. Hitman would wonder if he kicks people in the nuts because he doesn't have a pair of his own. Harsh words. Commercial break. 5 jobbers lining up. The Discord brothers amongst the jobbers here, as well as Jake. And this was comical from an insider perspective. From a human welfare standpoint, not so comical because Avatar beat the holy hell out of these sacrificial lambs that were led to the slaughter, and Avatar showed just why he is a dangerous, pardon the pun there, DDH, maybe we should say he is a deranged, sick and twisted, sociopathic monster that leaves carnage in his wake. The Black Hearts would take on the Filthy Irish in tag team competition. This one was a wild brawl. Not a surprise considering the styles of both of these teams. In the end, it was the Black Hearts prevailing after the Filthy Irish had their whiskey bottle taken and slammed over the head of one McDonald. 1, 2, 3, the Black Hearts with the victory. The Golden One PD Pump would storm into the office of Ramon Armstrong, and he would, on Hitman Howie Sandberg's behalf, advocate for that Unified World Heavyweight Championship match at Fantasy Bash. Armstrong would not relent. He would not back off his stance. Heated words exchanged. Armstrong eventually had enough and said, you know what, Pump? You hate my guts? I'll give you a real reason to hate my guts. It's going to be you and Khan one-on-one next. And it was. Khan, another monster in his own right. This man is towering. This man is a physical, imposing force to be reckoned with. Despite dominating a good portion of this match, PD Pump, after high-flying Alex Hatch, his partner in Stoned and Boned, would run out to the ring, get on the ring apron, and distract Khan. PD Pump would schoolboy him with a handful of tights, of course. 1, 2, 3, your winner, the Golden One PD Pump. We have a feeling it's only just begun for Stoned and Boned and Vicious and Delicious. Moving right along. Misfit Savior Jeremy Lithium versus Nevermoor Jr. in a highly contested affair. Nevermoor Jr. looked very, very impressive. Jeremy Lithium would prevail. At the end, the lights would go out. Many presumed it was Avatar the Collector who had attacked Nevermoor Jr. on the prior Shockwave. But it was not. Instead, it was Johnny Lightning who would appear in the ring with the Hardcore Championship that Jeremy Lithium had seized from him. And he simply just placed it over Lithium's body after, presumably, he beat the crap out of him, saying he'd be back for it when they meet at Fantasy Bash Night 1. It will be Johnny Lightning, defending that Hardcore Championship against Misfit Savior Jeremy Lithium. And in the main event of the evening, Dangerous Dave Howard versus Kando Dragon. This was a terrific match. Both men showcasing their elite skills. In the end, Dangerous Dave Howard would prevail. After the match, Hitman would strike, ambushing DDH from behind. DDH would briefly take control, only for the Hitman to slide out of harm's way to big-time boos. DDH would go on to say he accepts the match for Fantasy Bash. Cue Ramon Armstrong. Ramon Armstrong says, not happening. Not having that match. Stubborn? Perhaps. That is the big money match. Hitman was signed to a lucrative contract. Surely Ramon Armstrong would want to get a return on that investment, but stubborn nonetheless. DDH was not having this. So what did he do? Boom! Short ride, bad landing. Down goes Ramon Armstrong. Dangerous DDT. Only takes a split second to do. And it'll drop your whole family's, it'll burn your whole family's house down, and it'll drop you like that. Ramon Armstrong gets up eventually, and I will paraphrase what he said. Well, it's certainly not verbatim, but here's my version of what he said. Screw both of you. Go beat the shit out of one another. I don't give a crap. Have at it. So the match is set for Fantasy Bash. Hitman versus DDH. You will recall at Uncivil War, in a match of the year caliber contest, Meltzer gave it 5 stars. DDH did win on that night. The Hitman versus DDH Part 2. It should be one hell of a match. And this feud is red hot. Red hot. There you have it, folks. The go-home show for Fantasy Bash. It's hard to believe, but Fantasy Bash is right around the corner. And just 2 nights after Fantasy Bash will be the post-Fantasy Bash Shockwave, which should be highly eventful in and of itself. Already announced for the main event, 6-man action between the Money Shot, Hitman, Pump, Alex Hash versus DDH and Vicious and Delicious. Crossbones going one-on-one with Kareem Butt-Time Utley, as well as Vicious Vince Violence taking on Nevermoor Jr. Folks, this has been your CAEW Shockwave Recap. This has been Howie Sandberg saying, we'll see you on the flip side, the proverbial flip side.